if you do a podcast, and the thing about the podcast with Jack, it's not even like I said anything bad. It's what I didn't say.
Yeah, exactly.
That was upsetting to so many people. But that's such a loaded thing. And because of that podcast, no, there's negative to it, that blowback. There's a lot of, toxic anger and all that. But the positive is what I like. The positive that came out of it is me forced to re-examine how I do podcasts, re-examine the significance of each individual guest, and especially someone that comes with as much baggage, without lack of a better term, as Jack, that you got to think that there's people listening, and there's some questions that you really have to work at. You have to push through, and even if he's dancing and pirouetting, I should have went back to, okay, why is Kathy Griffin on your platform?
Yeah.
Like, if doxing is bad, you don't want to dox, you don't want threats of violence. When someone says, I want names, okay, what are you going to do with these fucking names?
Right.
What are you going to do with them? What are you going to do with a 16-year-old kid and his names? And then when you see the actual video of what actually happened, and there's so many people that are still not walking it back. Still.
No, I know.
They're doubling down. A lot of people double down. Fuck him. And here's another little piece of insight. My friend Matt lived in D.C., and those hats, those MAGA hats, they're fucking everywhere. There's these where these kids were, that area, there's these carts that sell these hats. So these kids bought those hats that day. It's not like they're these MAGA kids. They're probably just being assholes, right? They're unsupervised teenage boys. Their frontal lobe is not fully formed, and they're all together feeding off each other like a pack of gremlins.
Yeah.
I was a teenage boy. You were a teenage boy. You know how fucking stupid you used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I was probably way more stupid than you, but I was a mess.
I had my moments.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just you get 100 teenage boys together in a crowd, on a school trip, and you get some native elder drumming in some guy's face.
Yeah.
It was amazing what didn't happen.
Right.
There.
Exactly.
Right? So
no violence.
No violence.
And the kid, the way he handled it, all he did is smile.
Yeah. Listen, I'm as biased as anyone against a Catholic school kid wearing a MAGA hat.
Yes.
Right? It's like, given my backstory, it's like, yeah, I'm totally poised to think this guy's an asshole and is likely always to be an asshole. But what people read into an uncomfortable smile, right? I mean, just like the shots of his face with the tweets that said, this is what white privilege looks like.
Yeah.
This is everything that's wrong in our society. It's just, we have to slow down.
How about Reza wrote, have you ever seen a more punchable face?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. You want to punch him?
Yeah.
Because he's smiling?
Don't get me started on Reza.
Calls for violence from the left are so fucking disturbing to me, because my parents were hippies when I grew up. I always thought of the left, and I've been called right wing. I've never voted anything but Democratic in my life except for Gary Johnson.
Right.
Gary Johnson was the only time I voted independent, or whatever the fuck he was, libertarian.
Right.
But that was just because he did my podcast. I'll vote for Tulsi Gabbard because she did my podcast too. Right. But the left was always very considerate, well-read. They were the people that were more open-minded. They were supporting of gay people and minorities. That was the left, and they were nonviolent. They were the people that were protesting Vietnam when I was a kid.
Well, also just supportive of the virtue of speech, free speech, and self-criticism.
Yes.
Right? Like, I mean, the disadvantage of the left against the right has always been there's this self-scrutiny and a willingness to wonder whether or not I'm wrong that isn't mirrored if you go far enough right. And there's been kind of an asymmetric war between left and right, politically for much of our lifetime. But you go far enough left now, and you're meeting a kind of totalitarian resistance to speech, and it's it's very. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the 2020 campaign plays out. But I'm certainly worried that we could totally blow it with some leftist
socialist
SJW uprising.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate, because I think that would just double down the other side. We would be better off with some sort of a reasonable centrist, right? Someone who just made sense. Yeah. And, one of the things that I liked about Tulsi is that she's a veteran. And, she seems very reasonable to me. But
except I haven't followed her career closely, but it just seems like she's not making the right noises on things like Syria and Assad.
I don't know enough about that to comment. I don't know enough about Assad and the controversy of whether or not he gassed his
Well, no,
popular.
that is, I think, uncontroversial. In terms of what she, I mean, that is uncontroversial. In terms of what she is saying about it,
about him.
I mean, she's capable of putting both feet in her mouth on that.
I thought she's saying he's not an enemy of America, right? So
yeah, I mean, again, I'm not close enough to it, but I would, be very circumspect about endorsing her going forward. I mean, to do a little homework, because I think her candidacy is not going to age well. That's